Hey, my creative friends. My name is Shannon from shannonstudio.com. And I am here to talk about a creative life. We've been having this goal of a year of creative life tips. So every day, this is day 361 with 6 days left. So 366 days because it was leap year this year. So we have talked a lot about creativity. And we have... I've also been talking about Creative Heartbeats Club, and it's launching on August 1st, the end of this video series of a year. So I have been talking a little bit about that. On Sundays, what I've been doing is I've been talking about creativity connected to spirituality. Hey, boyfriend. So I try to tie those two and use a little metaphor, a little analogy, to see how they intersect. So today we are going to talk about collaboration, group creativity. So there's a quote by Jonah Lehrer that says, group creativity is becoming more and more important. 50 years ago, the biggest papers in any given field were really the products of a lone individual, like Einstein and Darwin. So I thought about that part of his quote. So I was thinking, okay, the Dark Ages, a lot of nothing happened in the Dark Ages, and the Dark Ages were about 500 to 1453. So that was about 1,000 years. It's 1476 so about 1,000 years of the Dark Ages. That's a long time, and then it starts to come out of the Dark Ages with the likes of Leonardo da Vinci and Shakespeare and Michelangelo and Raphael and Cervantes. And then it starts into the Renaissance. Hey, Trisha. Starts into the Renaissance period, so 1300 to 1600, and then the classical period, 1700 to 1800. So, and in classical period, you have like Mozart and Beethoven. So when I looked at this and there were a lot of individual geniuses, little individual creatives that were just powerhouses. And a lot of the work from the Dark Ages, and the Dark Ages were the end of the Dark Ages were the opening of that creative willpower. So there is support for the idea that used to be a lot of lone creatives, those who were doing things on their own, making differences on their own. But then the quote by Jonah Lehrer says, by the early 1990s, the most highly cited papers in the field of science were nearly almost always the product of people coming together, of collaboration. And this is largely because problems are getting harder, and you basically succeed together or fail alone. So the new story is really about the story of teams, the story of collaboration, of connecting your expertise together with other people. And so it made me think of the scriptures and particularly in Corinthians, because I really like this, 1 Corinthians 12. So it goes through and it talks about, just like several articles that I read about the diversity, about the collaboration and stuff, about different peoples from different areas of expertise or different experiences coming together and bringing what they have to make a complete paper or project or something. And because of the strengths of all their differences, they've made something really, really strong and in many cases really profound. So then it made me think of 1 Corinthians 12, where it talks about, in the first section, it talks about diversity of gifts, there's many diversities, many different gifts, differences of administrations, and many different operations, but it's all the same Spirit, the same Lord, the same God. So it's all, even though there's all these differences, it's still coming from the same Spirit, same Lord, same God. And then it says in verse 7, but the manifestation of the Spirit is given to every, I'll say woman, because we're talking women, though it's this man. But the manifestation of the Spirit is given to every woman to profit withal. Hey, Deb. So it's the manifestation, the proof of the Spirit, the public demonstration of the Spirit is given to everyone. And then it goes on to verse 8, for to one is given by the Spirit. And then it goes on to verse 8. For to one is given by the Spirit. So it goes through a list of things for an example, not like it's a comprehensive list, but it's like saying, here's an example of what the Spirit can do and what the Spirit gives out. The word of knowledge, the word of wisdom, knowledge, faith, gift of healing, working of miracles, prophecy, discerning of spirits, diverse tongues, many interpretation of tongues. Hey, Allison. So it's saying that, for to one is given by, so people are given things. And then in verse 11, but all these different gifts, but all these worketh that one and the selfsame Spirit. For as the body of one is one, and hath many members, and all the members of that one body, being many, are one body, so also is Christ. So there's a lot of diversity of the body. He's using the metaphor and the analogy. Wait. I haven't gotten to the metaphor of the body. It's just saying there's lots of gifts. There's lots of things to be had, and the Spirit gives it out, and everybody has something. Everybody has something. And so then it goes on with the metaphor of the body, saying the body is one, but there's many different parts. For the body is not one member, but many. Okay, and then it goes on, the foot doesn't say, I don't belong because I'm not the hand. And I want you to think of how people talk, how you've heard your friends talk. We can talk women because we're women here. How does one woman talk about herself? I don't belong because I'm not XYZ. So can the foot say I don't belong because I'm not the hand? Or the ear say I don't belong because I'm not the eye? Have you heard that conversation before? I don't belong because, and fill in the blank. Then also, the eye can't say, in the scriptures it says, the eye can't say to the hand, I have no need of thee. The hand, it can't do that. It cannot do that. The head can't say to the foot, I don't need you. But have you heard that in conversations, or that implied message in conversations? So if the whole body were just an eye, and just an eye where you could just see, where would the hearing be? And if it were just all hearing or all just seeing, then where would the smelling be? So you could go on. There's no smelling, there's no hearing. If there's only seeing, the whole thing. It is so interdependent on each other, and it's so needful. Our bodies are, when you think about our bodies and all it can do, they are so amazing. Just our bodies, to me, testify that there's a God because of the intricacy of how we're made and how the systems interact. And bodies are marvelous creations that nobody's been able to really recreate. So the fact of the matter is you can't say you don't belong, and somebody else can't say you don't belong, because the metaphor of the body says we need all the parts. We need all the parts. So you as a person are needed, and you as a person can't say somebody else isn't needed. So then it goes on to say, but now in verse 18, so 1 Corinthians 12:18, but now hath God set the members, every one of them, in the body as it pleased him. So many members, one body. Nay, much more those members of the body which seem to be feeble are necessary. That seem to be feeble are necessary. Those things you think you might not need. So like a thumb, or I know I've shared this story before and part of these scriptures before about how when I got my nose hairs burned and they weren't there anymore, and how I realized, you're talking nose hairs of the whole body, I would probably say nose hairs are one of those feeble ones. But when I lost my nose hairs, I knew exactly what they did. They stopped my nose from running, the snot running out. I knew exactly what that member of my body did, and I had not previously ever thought about it. But I knew. You don't have a thumb, you know. You don't have a leg, you know. You don't have hearing, you know. If you lose your taste, you know. All of a sudden, you think that feeble part, you know exactly what it was doing before. So it's all necessary. We are all necessary. And as a group of people, we are all necessary. So then it goes on in the scriptures. And why are some of these things to be had? So, well, he's trying to explain, one, that there's no schism, no division, no disunion of these opposing things, that there's no disharmony. Deb says, I think it is a blessing given that it may take a lifetime to find out what our gifts may be. I'm trying to open up the rest of it. There we go. It might take a lifetime to find out what our gifts may be. After that, to share that gift to help others. I'm still learning what some of my hidden gifts are and trying to develop them. That's great, Deb. I think that is absolutely true. And I was just thinking about some of your posts and some of the things you do, and it's interesting. I can see some of your little contributions is what I'm saying in some of the things that you put forth. So yeah, it takes a lifetime sometimes. Sometimes some things are real obvious. Some blessings are just real obvious and we get it right away. But then sometimes other things come about slowly. So the idea that he's trying to put across with this metaphor and all these gifts being given out, not everybody gets all the gifts. We each get some at least one, if not more, and we can develop more. And so he's using two different ways to talk about this so that there's no division and disunity. So that members should have the same care for one another. So how you care for your eyes, you should care for the rest of your body. You know, and then looking at people, how you care for one person, you should care for another, not just because they're the most prominent or the most important or the one that you give the most honor to. And it says, and it also says, as one way of learning with this metaphor, he says, when one suffers, so like when one body part suffers or one member suffers, all suffer with it. So, and I'm thinking of the Black Lives Matter. Now, there's two ways to look at the Black Lives Matter. There's an actual organization, the Black Lives Matter, and then there's just the general phrase, Black Lives Matter. And I'm taking the general phrase, Black Lives Matter, because the group itself, there's a few things in there that I've read their platform and I'm going, I don't know so much about that. But the idea that this falls into right now in our time, where it says if one suffers, one body part suffers, one member suffers, one group of people suffers, all suffer with it. That's why we're having these yearnings to help, because we are suffering with them, as it should be. So then another thing that we're supposed to learn from this is one member, so one body part, one group, one person, shouldn't, if that one body part is honored, then we should all rejoice. You know, it's not like, oh, this group of people, they have this great thing going for them. They're getting a lot of accolades and a lot of attention, and we should go, yay, good for them, instead of going, well, they shouldn't. I got a comment on one of my videos on YouTube, and it was like, well, it was one of my older videos where I just do a speed video where I'm putting wrapping paper on a table, and it's just a speed video. And there's little instructions written, but it's like 1 minute. And somebody put in there, well, I can see why you don't have very many followers, because you just put this video on and you don't speak in it, and something like that. So they just went on about nitpicking and negative. And yet I think there's, I want to say 23,000 views. And a lot of people are like happy with it and really like it. And the point is that a lot of people are rejoicing in it, but then there's just got to be some who just can't rejoice with you. We don't want to be those people. We don't want to be the person who finds the negative because somebody is doing something well or doing something good or doing something fun or whatever. We don't want to be those people. He's telling us, don't be that person. Rejoice when other person is getting honored. And when somebody suffers, we suffer with them. And when, make sure there's no division. Our action should be uniting each other and seeing the good and caring for each of the members. Allison says, I'm so glad you made the distinction of Black Lives Matter. I'm trying to open this up. This is why I'm like, oh, that's not what I want to do. Okay. I'm so glad you made the distinction on Black Lives Matter. I agree. It sounds like your metaphor is basically saying, live the second commandment. When we treat others like we want to be treated, the world would be better. Amen to that. Yes, love one another. Exactly. The concept's always been there to love one another. He, at different points of the scriptures, uses things like analogies, metaphors to further us along because he knows we're going to struggle. He knows we're going to struggle with some of these things. So he says, okay, let's teach it to them this way. Let's come out right and say it this way, like the second commandment. Or, let's let them learn, like Deb was saying, learn as they go. And so all these experiences should be bringing us around to one greater whole. And that in verse 27 it says, now ye are the body of Christ, members in particular. The whole concept and the whole idea is that we are all members of Christ. We are all members and body of him. We have the same goals. We have the same ideas. And I think, and in verse 31, it says, yet show I unto you a more excellent way. Yeah, there's ways of living that make people happy. This is the more excellent way. This is going to be the greater happiness. This is going to be the greater growth. This is going to be what moves you and other people along with you. It's not just, we're not just in our single rowboat. Yeah, I like to be in a single rowboat sometimes, but we need each other. We need to come together, to unify, isolation, I think, has made people more appreciative of other people and feeling the need of other people. I mean, today we went to get our temple recommends. A temple recommend is saints, and we have temples, and to go to the temple, you have to get a temple recommend. It means your leadership recommends you to go, that you recommend yourself to go to the temple, where you make promises to the Lord, and the Lord makes promises to you, and you grow and learn. And for me, I received personal revelation in a bigger way. So we went to go get our recommends today. I know, Cassie, you just called. Hey, Cassie. Hey, Cassie. Cassie just called, and I think and I declined the call, and I think she realized that she called me during the video because you, girl, just started watching. So went for the temple recommends today, and you notice how I can like jump from thing to thing because I have 9 kids. I've learned that skill. That's one of my skills I can bring to the table. Okay, was the interview in person or via technology? It was in person. And Cassie said, yep, laugh out loud. That's what happened. Yeah, it was in person. So we went to the church. We drove our bikes to the church. And when we went in, it was interesting because Alan said, it feels so natural to be here in the building, and he missed it. And then when I was talking to my leader by ourselves, he said, I came this week to the building, and I'm here today, and he goes, I really like it, I missed it. I think isolation is teaching us that, we take for granted what we have, so we are surrounded by people, so we've kind of taken people for granted. And the value that we place on people, on our relationships, we're starting to see. Allison said, so you haven't been back in person yet? Nope, we are not phasing church back in yet. They've talked about it. I know the local leadership has talked about it, but they're still doing that. I mean, I think it'll come as long as we don't get really high spiked, and our numbers are going down. So just because since we're in Sweden, we have an international community that meets in our ward. There's different people that move in and out because of different jobs, and several have moved out this summer. So we will probably be below the numbers and can meet soon. Okay, so joining together, collaboration, isolation. Allison says we start next week. I saw the little email. So, okay, collaboration, and that's what Creative Heartbeats will be. It will be being able to connect with like-minded people. And there may be collaborations besides the group. I mean, I have a general framework, and then the group and I will kind of see what happens. Alan, still have a 50-person limit in Sweden. He says we have a gathering limit of 50 persons. And probably our church group will be less than 50 people. Hey, Lar. So that's the message tonight, is the idea of joining together, collaboration. There's been a lot of great things by individuals in the past, but I really think that we are entering the age of collaboration. Because when you think about it, when you can bring in so many different experiences and ideas, and yeah, it can get messy. You need to, filter through things, but sometimes that messiness and bringing it all together can create some really exciting things. And we've had the Dark Ages, we've had the Renaissance and the classical period. I think, this is the age of creativity, and I think it includes the age of collaboration. It includes collaborating and connecting. And I think that's it for tonight. So remember, you have a creative heartbeat, so listen for it. And we have 6 days left. I was right on the count, 366 days, because it's leap year. 6 days left. And then we are off to some more new adventures. So I will be back tomorrow. Bye for now.